here for the Clinton Museum. I'm here today with Alan Bolster, and we are going to interview him about his life in Clinton. He's been here a very long time, and he actually has a special connection to the museum itself. So thank you for being with us today, Alan. So first, can you please tell us about the barn and the process of moving it from across the lane?
Well, okay, start with the highest is going to get rid of it, the provincial highways department. They were going to tear it down, burn, whatever, not burn it, but tear it down. So Mike Brundage was one of the people who's involved. And so me and a couple of fellows, we volunteered to move it. So they gave us the job. It's not that we needed a job. Anyway, we started, first week or so we were just jacking it up. Maybe it took us longer. And then we got it up in the air, and we had it on these big steel skids. And it was super heavy. Like I was telling you earlier, Lillian, we had to, the floor didn't come, the floor was floating floor. So after we got it up, by probably about 6 inches, we realized the floor wasn't coming. So we put cables around the beams there. See that, where the cables, see where it bit in?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what we did was, now we had to secure, the floor secure with the building, so then it had to come. So then we continued jacking it up, and then we finally got it high enough, we could stick the steel under it, and the whole building was free, above ground, let's say. And the front end, this end here was like, over the years, it had a lot of dirt against it. So I think we got a backhoe and we dug out so we could get at it. The other end, the back end, it was open, but the front end wasn't. So we dug it out, and we started jacking. And then the highways guy, the foreman there, David Dick, we were using an air jack plus some hydraulic jacks. So he said, well, come and use our air, which is ideal because we were running a compressor. And so we jacked her up, and then we managed to move it over to here, or tried to. And then so anyway, the thing, we didn't have enough power, machinery wise, so I phoned my foreman. I said, send that cat down. So he did. So then we shoved it over here, and then we turned it with a lot of work and lined her up with this concrete pad that was built.
So this door would have been originally facing that way?
No.
Oh, which way?
Just the way it is. There's a door in the back too, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was. Yeah, I don't know if they're the same width as these doors, but I think they were. Because what happened is when we went to move it, we got it all lined up, and we opened the back doors so we could see people in the front telling us whether we were lined up good or not, because we only got one shot.
Right.
And so then we had to get a bunch of material hauled in to put it up on this concrete. Well, anyway, so then it didn't want to go very good. So then we raised it, and we put timbers, or like logs underneath it, round things, probably 20, 30 feet wide. So then we pushed it, and it finally started to lift. But we did lift up on the skids and got it so it was starting to rise. So we just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And then we had a D7 cat sitting out here, and we had a D7 and 966 back here pushing. And we just started nudging it a little tiny bit at a time. And pretty soon it was up there, and so then a lady, Lorraine Huston, she went over to the liquor store and got us a case of beer. So we sat here in front and all had a drink of beer. And you shouldn't listen to this part, but this woman went by and looked at us and says, bunch of losers. That was pretty funny. We all cracked up about that. Bunch of losers.
She thought you were homeless or something?
Well, no, I thought she didn't give us any recognition. She just thought we were a bunch of losers. So that was the end of that. We got it up here, and we were all pretty happy. And some more people showed up and congratulated us on the moving of it. But part of the story is the highways guys, there was quite a large crew, maintenance crew here. So anyway, half the crew bit the they had a pool. Half of them said we wouldn't get her done and it would collapse. The other half said we'd make her. So then I got a couple old guys to go up and rebrace the trusses up here, because the stuff was old, but sound, very sound. Sound because most of it was sitting on rocks and stuff, like big boulders, which kept it from rotting because the timbers were sitting on. They weren't laying on the ground. I think there was a little bit of rot in the very front, but it was an amazingly sound building. But it was actually what it was a challenge, and it was kind of a cool thing to do.
So once you had it jacked up, how long did the whole process take after that?
Once we got it jacked up, we got her up on this in a day.
All in one day? Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, because all we had to do was spin it and move it over this way, and then turn it again so it came up lined with this concrete that Mike Rundish, who died a month or so ago, or 2 months ago, he had it all figured out. He measured it all up. And so what happens is this ground really slopes that way, downhill. So this end, he put it in such a way that it was level at this end, and then the other end, of course, he had to raise it up 3 or 4 feet to make it level at that end, and then we pushed it around. So we were pretty excited about getting it done.
And about what year would that have been?
1990.
1990?
1999.
1999,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. And, all right, so other than the barn, we'll move on to just your life in Clinton. You said you came here when you were 7 years old?
7 or 8, yeah.
And your parents obviously brought you here?
Yeah, actually we lived right across the highway for a while, right where you live, at my brother Bob's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right across Meadow Lake.
And there was no power then days.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a kerosene fridge. That was all the refrigeration we had. We had wood.
Lots of water there, though.
Yeah, but you had to pack it. So we had a 45-gallon drum beside the stove. And that was our job every night to fill that. In the wintertime, we chopped a hole in the ice.
From that little pond there?
Yeah. And then, or we might have chopped in the creek because it's right there. And then, of course, another job we had every night was to make sure the wood box was full. Because we heated with wood, and my mother cooked with a wood stove, quick stove.
Wow. And what did your parents, what did your dad do for a living?
My dad worked in the bush. Basically, he was a logger kind of guy. Truck driver, logger. Yeah, and my mom was raised at a resort on Adams Lake, Swan Bay it's called.
Wow.
They were there for many years. Well, that's where she grew up. And then she met my father and married him. And, well, she went to business school in Counts. My mother died 3 or 4 years ago, and she was a couple of days short of 91. So, and she had a ton of kids. She had 8 kids. Well,
wow. Basically
10 kids, but 2 died.
So you have your family has a large legacy around town.
Well, my youngest sister is 16 years difference between her and me, and she moved to Clinton here just a month or so ago. She bought a house here, but she lived in Whitehorse since she was 18, and she's 58 now.
That's
so
cool.
She wanted to come back to Clinton.
What do you remember about Clinton, or just growing up around here from when you were a kid?
Well, an interesting thing here, when I was a kid, there was wooden boardwalks in this town.
Really?
They weren't concrete or pavement or anything. They were board. So when you walk down, you make a thump with your boots. And like it was basically a logger rancher type community. There was ranches close to here, but
was it busier than it is now?
Oh yeah. Well, there was 1,300 people lived here. Now there's half that.
Yeah.
I started working for an old rancher when I was 12, out on the Big Bar Lake Road, the first ranch.
Oh yeah.
I worked for him for 10 years. So I learned a lot of stuff from him, like with horses, cattle, machinery.
What was your job there?
Everything.
Just ranch hand?
Yeah. Well, I used to, in the summertime I hayed. We hayed a lot, lots of hay, and then did lots of cowboying.
Okay.
And lots of just work, fix a fence.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but in the meantime, I'd worked in logging. So when I was about 19 on, so then I built road, mostly road, and the big cats. So then I figured I was working for other people. I thought I could do that. So in the meantime, this old guy I worked for, Tom Jones, had sold his ranch. So he told me he'd lend me enough money to buy a cat. So I bought a DA and went to work.
And how much did that cost back then?
It cost me $65,000.
Wow.
A brand new one would be about $125,000. I should have borrowed $125 from him. Bought a new one, but I didn't. I was being conservative. And then, but actually, I worked hard that very first year when I bought that cat, and I paid him off in 1 year.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. You got to remember, this was like in the early 70s.
Yeah, so
50 years ago.
$65,000 was way more back then.
Oh, $65,000 when you buy a new car.
Yeah.
Or a pickup. So.
All right.
So I spent most of my years, my really formative years with old Tom. His name was Tom Jones. He was quite a character.
Are there any other charismatic people that you knew back in the day that should be immortalized on film?
There was Lloyd West, who was another friend of mine. He moved up from the States also. Tom had moved from Washington, and Lloyd had moved from Idaho, and he owned quite a bit of land. He bought a ranch here. Mm-hmm. Lloyd was a super good guy and very well respected here, and he died several years ago, probably 10 years ago. Anyway, he was an old man when he died. I mean, he was in his 80s, but he was a really good guy. So there's them kind of people that you're around that are pretty, make good examples, and they took in, like my old friend Tom, he really took interest in me as a kid, and Lloyd really loved kids too, so my brother Lee was a buddy of Lloyd's too, and so they were a good influence on us. They were old rednecks, mind you. Nothing wrong with rednecks.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. Sounds like a fun childhood.
It was.